Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Patriot Update. This is Travis and Summer Flaherty. We're happy to be here with you today. We're going to give it just a minute to get started. Thanks so much for tuning in. We're going to give it just a minute or two to let everybody come in. If you're tuning in for the first time, feel free to let us know where you're tuning in from. We would appreciate it. And we're going to get started here in just a moment. Thanks so much for watching. Appreciate you being here. Updates. Make sure that everything is coming in loud and clear. We've been having some slow internet connections here today. Yep, we are live. Good, good, good. So listen, we've got a lot to talk about today, but we're going to give it just a minute. If you haven't done so yet, feel free to say hello. Let us know where you're tuning in from. And please, if you would be so kind and consider sharing today's episode. We've got to get this information out. One thing that we cannot count on is the media to report accurately, and they are just working overtime right now. So we need to get this information out. We appreciate you being here, and once again, for everyone that has rallied around the Patriot Update group, I think we've had some 500 people that have joined the group in the last, 24 hours or so since we put it up. Here's how you can help. So number one, make sure that you select notifications all posts so that you're following all of the information that's coming out and you're not missing anything. A lot of things that are going on right now. So yes, make sure that you're following. Number two is share the group. If you've got some like-minded friends, conservative like-minded friends that believe in faith, family, and freedom, then invite them to come and join. And we would appreciate it if 500 of you each invited 10 people, we'd be at 5,000 overnight. So our goal is to get as much information as we can out there to our Patriots. And so your help is definitely appreciated. So we appreciate you sharing the group. And number three, share the content in the group. Very important to get this information out because once again, the media right now is not reporting on a lot of what is going on. And that's the whole purpose and the reason why we decided to launch Patriot Updates is so that we can get the information out there so that we can fight back. And it's very important to do so. And we need your help. Hey, Justin, how are you? What's going on, Mr. Jamie Stagg? Thanks so much for tuning in. Hey, Leslie, how are you? Wyoming is in the house. Patricia, how are you? Mr. Walton, hello, Heidi. How are you? Good to have you on here today. Appreciate it, you guys. I'm going to share this real quickly and share that over to your wall. And let's get into it today. So first of all, number one, it is Veterans Day. And I want to take just a moment. We want to take just a moment, and we want to sincerely thank all of the members of our military, their families for their service. My father was a career Air Force, a careerman and a colonel in the Air Force, and I want to say thank you for his service. Both of my grandparents fought in World War II. I know that your grandparents as well did the same thing.
Yes, my grandfather, and I just want to say my grandfather, his parents were immigrants to the United States of America, and he grew up being very proud to be first generation American. And he, at 18, decided to join the Merchant Marines, and he served this country proudly for 8 years. So I am just super grateful to have, him as an example. He was a true patriot.
Well, and so if you want to show your appreciation to all of the service men and women that are out there, let's get some hearts for them. Let's give them just an overwhelming amount of gratitude today. We've got a lot to talk about. We're going to be talking about today, where are we with the fraud allegations? It's interesting because the media right now would have you believe, oh, there's no fraud. There's nothing going on. There's all these are all just baseless claims. Don't listen to the right at all. You know what? They're just sore losers. The race is over. I mean, that's really what's going on in the media right now. They want to just erase the fact that there are thousands. In fact, we're going to give you the exact numbers tonight. We're going to give you the ammunition that you need to go out and share this information and really help people understand that the fight is not over yet. What the media is counting on right now is they're counting on us just kind of giving up.
Yeah, they're just saying, oh, you know what? You know why? Because they know that we're gracious, kind. Usually, we're not the ones that are going to make a big stink. Generally, we're usually pretty polite. So it's easy to be like, oh, you know what? We'll concede, and I think we're better losers in general. Okay, maybe that's not true, but some of us. But yeah, that's what they're counting on. They're counting on us just getting complacent.
They're counting on us getting complacent. They're counting on you just to start to buy into the mainstream liberal message that's out there, which is, oh, this is over. You know, Biden is already taking meetings with international leaders to discuss his policy. This is far from over. So with that, once again, we appreciate your support. If you share tonight's episode, please type share into the comment section so that we can say thank you along the way. We do appreciate your support. And if you're watching this on the replay, be sure to come over to our group Patriot updates just to stay plugged in. So with that, let's get into it. So first of all, in the news, some big news that came out today in Georgia will now be entering into a hand recount, which is fantastic news. Georgia was a very, very close race. There's been some reported alleged voter fraud that has come out of Georgia as well. And some of the questions that come up that people are asking us right now, hey, thank you so much for sharing, Heather, appreciate it. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Deb, for sharing, appreciate that. Some of the questions that are coming out is, well, are they just going to count the same fraudulent ballots that they counted before?
Yeah.
Are the same dead people going to vote that maybe voted before? So let's talk a little bit about that and how the recount process works in these different states like Wisconsin as well. That's also in the middle of a recount. Thank you, Jennifer, for sharing. So uncertified results in Georgia show Biden leading by 14,000 votes out of nearly 5 million votes that were counted in the state. So nearly all ballots have been counted at this point, though there are some counties that have they have still yet to certify their results. And mathematically, you actually have to do a full hand-by-hand recount of all of those ballots because the margins are so close. 5 million ballots. Can you imagine hand counting that? You can imagine the time that that's going to take. It's not something that we're going to get the information back within the next 24 to 48 hours. And they are going to start this process this week. So here's how it works. They're going to, the recount will be conducted by hand in each of Georgia's 159 counties. And that recount should go on through November 20th is the approximate estimation of how long that's going to take. That's the certification deadline. And what's going to happen is that they're going to have both a representative from the Democratic side and the Republican side that is present and looking at every single ballot. What they do is they literally put them into one pile or the other pile, and then when they're all done, then they put them into the scanners to be able to count those votes. And so, you know, there's some pretty strict rules that have to be followed, and this is a great thing because when you have a race it's literally, you know, right at about 14,000 votes, it's important that every single vote was counted properly, that there's no glitches that are happening in the system. So, you know, that's great news out of Georgia. Very excited about that. Let's talk a little bit about Arizona. So Arizona is dragging their feet. You know, we put an update up last night. We've been checking all day long, multiple sources, and we have no new ballot drops out of Arizona officially as of right now. We still could have one tonight. You guys know that as of last night, Joe Biden's lead was cut to just about 12,000, maybe about 12,500 votes. So it's a very tight race here in Arizona. I think that there was still some 55,000 ballots that were out, most of those that were provisional ballots. And Trump's been doing very, very well with provisional ballots. And so there's a very good chance that we could see Arizona heading back into a recount as well. But there's some kind of shocking news that came out of Arizona that I know fired you up today.
Yes, and I'm actually looking for so if you go to our page, Patriot Update, it's a double-edged sword. There's so much really great information being dropped, but also because of that, it's possible to sometimes miss things that are really important. But a lot of times people ask, like, what can I do? And what you can do is go to the Patriot Updates, slide down, and we really need your calls. We need to call. I'm looking for.
Well, let me tell you what happened first before we give them the call to action.
Just read.
Okay, well, let me just.
But you can do it. That's
so the Arizona Secretary of State, Katie Hobbs, who happens to be a Democrat, go figure,
yes,
rejected a request for an independent analysis of voting data in the state of Arizona, concluding that it would simply amplify the voices of people who seek to undermine our democratic process for political gain. Really? So the system that's used is Dominion. Dominion has already proven to have glitches. It's used in 30 other states. So if there's no factual basis on any of these things, then absolutely, let's put it to rest.
Yes.
And let's show them that it's not true.
Yes, exactly. So there's a memo that went out and it said, "Dear friends, today I read in the Daily Courier that the Secretary of State Hobbs has denied Senate President Fan's request to test Arizona's voting machines. I'm sorry. We need to call Ducey, Ronovich, and Hobbs and Fan and demand that the voting machines are tested. And we need to be, they're calling right now, call after 8 a.m. and let's light up their phones." So this is what, so I put this, I don't know if you can see in here. I put this in the group right here and all of the phone numbers are right here. So this is kind of time sensitive information. So if you live in Arizona or you know people who do, please forward this on and let's everybody pick up the phone. It just takes a few minutes. Usually it's a message machine. You just leave a message. Because I've made some calls prior to the election and left some messages and then after as well. So for different reasons, but it's really simple. I know people are used to texting and that sort of thing, but it's really important. And it just takes a couple minutes, just knock it out. Super, super important. We need to make sure and demand that this process is tested. So we can have faith in our voting system here in Arizona.
Why all the secrecy, right?
Yeah.
Sandra says it right here. Why all the secrecy? I mean, if there's really nothing to hide, nothing to worry about. Now, Dobbs says she actually came out and says, well, there's no, or Hobbs, excuse me, Dobbs, Democrat Hobbs, Dobbs. She came out and said, well, there's no voter fraud or alleged voter fraud here in Arizona. Well, there actually is a lawsuit. There's a lawsuit right now in Maricopa County where eligible voters showed up on election day to cast their vote and they had their ballots rejected. And in one case, an individual said that she marked her ballot at an Anthem, Arizona polling site with an ink pen that permeated through the ballot. We've heard about this, right? This is Sharpie Gate. You guys have heard a lot about Sharpie Gate. And when the ballot was fed through a device, it was rejected. So the question then begs, how many of these ballots that people use Sharpies were not counted or were rejected? So there is actually a lawsuit that's out there. But pertaining or going back to the software for just a moment, we know that there was a county in Michigan that falsely awarded 6,000 votes to Joe Biden when those votes should have in fact gone in the direction of President Trump. And so if it happened in Michigan, and there has been some and we haven't been able to confirm these yet, but that it's happened in other areas in Wisconsin, in Pennsylvania as well, then why wouldn't you want to double check and just make sure?
All using the same software.
Dominion. And we're going to be doing an entire show on Dominion, and we're going to be dropping the hammer. We're going to be dropping the hammer and talking a little bit more about some of the alleged claims about the software that's being used. And you're going to find some of this stuff fascinating. So you're going to be seeing that coming up here in the next couple of days as well. There's a great Sharpie Gate. There's a great article that is out in the BBC. And we were looking at it, kind of going through it today. And it's voter rigging, how to spot the telltale signs of voter rigging. And I want to just go through a couple of these with you. Once again, appreciate you guys tuning into Patriot Updates. Thanks so much. If you click the share button, let us know that you shared it so that we can thank you as well. So this actually came out in September of 2016. Summer wanted me to point that out.
Yes.
So this isn't something that was just written with bias specifically for this election. This came out in September of 2016. So let me give you just a couple of them. So the first one is that there's too many voters that show up, or too many voters that turn up based on the amount of registered voters in a specific county. Now, you and I were going through some of these different counties today, and what did we find?
There was like 103% that showed up to vote based on the count. And some of the counties weren't even at 100% of ballots counted. There were also some that were at
there's some that are reported at over 200%.
Yes.
As far as registered voters. So that's one of the first telltale signs of voter rigging, is just too many people show up based on the amount of registered voters that are in that specific area. Number two, and this one's very interesting, is the results don't match. The results don't match. So let me give you an example. So we all know what happened the night of the election. So President Trump is up by huge margins. And for some reason, and it just felt weird, it felt all wrong, they just stopped counting. It was almost like they just stopped the election. At what point, in what election have you ever been a part of? I know that in our lifetime, I can't recall an election where all of a sudden it just stopped. And it felt weird. It was kind of like, what do you
Also-
mean? They actually said, we're sending people home
Yeah.
until the morning.
They said, hey, it's 10:30. I'm pretty sure it was Pennsylvania or Georgia, one of the two. And they're like, it's 10:30, so they stopped counting and they're going to resume tomorrow. And I was like, wait, what?
Thanks for sharing, Kara.
That's never happened before. And I know this because, at least in my adult life, my mother being the political junkie and involved person that she is in politics my whole life, we've always stayed up all night to watch the election and wait for 100% of the precinct counts to come in. Now, they may still have mail-in military ballots at that point that they haven't, but as far as day of election votes, 100% of precinct will be reporting when they call at the end of the night and confirm who has, taken the presidency, president-elect. And also, I thought it was weird too. You know how I don't know. We were flipping back and forth between a couple different channels, but they click on the state, it breaks it up into the different counties, and you can see the red and the blue counties, and then you're saying, well, we're still waiting for this precinct in this county, and we know that's a rural area, and it's largely for President Trump. We still have this city over here in this county, and it largely is for Biden, and we only have this much percentage. Like, that went out the window when with Arizona. With Nevada, I didn't see it for Oregon, Washington, California. Now, mind you, I get that most people are like, oh, foregone conclusion that, Oregon and Washington may be going blue, California may be going blue. But how do you think as a voter in those states that you feel when you don't even know, like, you weren't even given any acknowledgement in your county or your area? I didn't see them click on any of those states at all.
It was bizarre.
It was just really, really weird. And
Sandra says that
numbers just stopped.
Sandra says that on the East Coast at 10:50, they said they just stopped counting till the morning. Yeah. It was really bizarre, but that's not my point. So we're talking about voter rigging, an article here in the BBC that came out in 2016, how to spot the telltale signs. And so we know what happened when we went to bed. And then when we woke up, there was like these, it totally had flipped, right? All these votes that all of a sudden Trump is now behind, and it just felt wrong.
Wait a second, but I thought they stopped counting.
Right. Which doesn't make a lot of sense either, right? They sent everybody home, but they found those ballots in the basement. They found them
at what time if they sent everyone home at 10?
Why do they only find ballots in the basement, in the truck, and in sacks for Democrats, and they find all of President Trump's ballots in the middle of a field somewhere? I want to know. Somebody tell me.
They fell off a truck somewhere.
Here's what the BBC said. The BBC said that when results that don't match. So in the morning, all of a sudden, President Trump was behind. Right? President Trump was behind in the morning. But here was the interesting thing. How many of you went to the Michigan public government website that was also keeping track based on the updates, and they had President Trump in the lead despite what the media was reporting? Did anybody see that at all?
Wow.
Because it was circulating all over social media.
I saw that. Yeah, I have that picture. I think I'm going to post it. I have that picture. I'm just going to post it tonight on the Patriot updates in case any of you haven't seen it.
It stayed up for a couple of days, and then all of a sudden they realized what was going on and they changed it. And so again, what are the telltale signs according to the BBC article that came out 2016 on voter rigging? The second one was that the results just don't match in certain or different areas. You want to know what the third one is? This is the big one. Okay, the last one that they cited: delays in announcing the results.
Yep. Delays
in announcing the results.
That's what happens in third world countries, guys. This is they do it on purpose. It's meant to be delayed so they can figure out who needs. Everybody knows. I mean, I remember when I lived in Mexico, we were really good friends. My mom had a really good friend down there that she was working with. This is when I was 14, and they had gone down to vote. And I remember my mom's friend was Stella. She was like, "Yeah, I have to go vote, but it's not really going to matter because we already know who's going to win." And my mom's like, "What? You already know who's going to win?" She's like, "Yeah, this is what they do. They make you think that your vote counts, but we already know because the way the process goes, this party's going to win." And she explained, well, literally, my mom and I were just talking about this the other day, and she goes, "It's so crazy because I thought it was so strange. Like, what? You guys don't know at the end of the day?" And it's because they draw it out. They have this big process. Votes come in this day. They count these. It literally sounded when my mom described it to me the exact same thing that we're going to right now. You don't think that they know what works in other countries?
It's bizarre, and they cited that because they slow down the results, they pause the results, right? Because that's happening, what's going on is they're giving them time to be able to react and to be able to respond and make sure that they can do whatever it is that they need to do. So again, voter rigging, how to spot the telltale signs. top of the list, delays in announcing results. So that's just by the BBC. You can go and check that article out. Just Google BBC voter rigging, how to spot the telltale signs. Found that little gem today. Thought that we would share that with you guys. Now, I want to get into, let's talk a little bit about Pennsylvania for a moment. Okay, so we put out a little bit of, we had somebody that reached out to us today and said, listen, I've got something that you guys need to check out. I have evidence of alleged voter fraud in Pennsylvania that anybody can go and see right now. I said, okay, tell me what you've got. And so they took me through this process. We put it up on the Patriot update site, but I want to show you guys, this is just one example of what's going on right now in Pennsylvania. And I'm going to take you through, I'm going to share my screen here so that you guys can see exactly what is going on here. Let's see if it'll let me. Maybe. There we are. It's giving me a hard time. It's not letting me screen share right this second. There we go. Don't know why it's letting us. Sorry, we're having a little bit of a hard time. So if you guys go over to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and you go over to their website, we have a website. It's all of the information is posted into our group. And you go onto their website. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to pull this up, but if it doesn't come up, you guys can do this on your own. We've got the instructions there. You go over to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania website, and you go over to the general election data. We've got the link that'll take you right into the general election mail ballot request Department of State. And then all you have to do is you click on date of birth. And when you click on date of birth, there's these little 3 columns over on the right-hand side. And when you select sort ascending, you're going to see the date of birth of every single registered voter that placed a vote in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania election. And what's interesting is it starts off with 1/1/1800. Now, it's important to note that that is a very common thing to protect domestic violence victims. They don't put their birth date in. So, you're going to see some 1/1/1800s that are on here, and that's okay. But if you continue to go down and you click next and you go to the second page, and mind you, you can go through hundreds of pages, you're going to see people that were born on 9. Chester here. Chester was born Chester County was born in 9/6 of 1903. Then you have another voter from 9/23 of 1903. I'd like to know what these people are doing.
Yeah, they must have found the fountain of youth.
Seriously. So 1903, you've got another one from 12/6/1903, 3/12/1904, 7/12/1904, and the list goes on. And you can go through all of these voters that are some 100+ years old. And I would really love to know how these guys are doing it, how they still are keeping it together while they're placing these votes. It's pretty impressive. So you guys can go check that out. I apologize, for some reason we're not able to share our screen, so I'm going to work on that just a little bit. But that's something else that was very interesting that, I just thought, wow, how does that happen? How do we allow, and let me tell you how we allow this. So, Summer, maybe you could speak to this just a little bit. For the last year, Democrats have, the difference between Republicans and Democrats. So you have Republicans that believe in ideals. They believe in, if we go out and we speak our truth and we create, American patriotism, and we go out and debate, and we go out and we rally, and we go out and we create and show, and we want to show people what we are all about. The Democrats have a different strategy, and they've quite frankly rolled the strategy out beautifully. They've been playing chess while we've been playing, Chinese checkers the last year, because, what they've been doing over the last year is while we've been focusing on debating and sharing our values and sharing what we're about, which you think would be enough to win the race, what they've been doing is they've been focusing on the system.
Yes.
They've been focusing on the system. They've been focusing on the laws and how things are done. They figured out we don't even need to win when it comes to values or ideals or positions on policy anymore. I mean, give me a break. If you look at some of the positions on policies, you've got a vice president-elect that was just voted in who wants to legalize prostitution. You're telling me that is a policy that you guys, that people unanimously got behind? Yeah, really?
I don't think so.
So, talk to me a little bit about just how or what they've been doing over the last year, or some of the things, what that looks like.
So basically, they took the system and they analyzed the system of how we have been voting for the last, umpteen years, and they decided if we can figure out how to rig the system, I hate using that word rig, or change the system, challenge the system, the process by which votes are counted in different states, by deadlines. They looked at how they could manipulate and change the very system by which the electoral process happens in these individual states in order to be able to manipulate it for their benefit. And a lot of things are coming out that the people that they when they filed suits in these different states, and then some of these suits they won, which allowed them to change, mail-in ballot exception dates where they could accept ballots up to 3 days. The people who granted them, like that said, yes, you can do this. Basically, they're seeing that a lot of these in different counties and states, the people who did that said, yes, we'll grant that for you, did not have the authority. They were not of the legislative branch and had the authority to do so. So there's going to be a lot of different legal action taken, debating, did that person have a legal right to make those changes, even though they did bring that suit? And I don't know, it gets kind of complicated. Actually, that's why I think it's very important that each state is looked at independently, because each state's laws and processes are different based on the state's constitution. But the state's constitution, whatever the state is, cannot violate the federal constitution, which also comes into play here in some of these processes that were attacked prior to the election or changed. I say attacked because I felt like they were focused on and they were systematically used to see, like, okay, what can we do here? So that's why I say use the word attack. I think it's really important at this time, because I wanted to bring this up at some point. This book right here, I think that I've never read the Constitution. Can you believe that? I'm like, what? I've never read the Constitution. And I think I'm not the only one. I think I'm probably not the only one out there. So I saw this book at Costco. It was like $15, has the U.S. Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, a lot of other writings in here. And then, of course, I ordered this right here. This is the Constitution right here. And it's also broken down, the exact Constitution, all the amendments, as well as, some historical facts of why the founding fathers added those, each amendment, or put in the different articles of the Constitution. And then I love this book. I just started reading it. This is President Trump's, apparently. I'm going to fact check this, but I've heard this from several people now that are fairly credible. And a lot of people refer to this. I know Charlie Kirk has referred to this when speaking of the president, The Art of War. It's awesome. This is President Trump's favorite book. And I felt like when I read this, it gives me a lot of hope. It's really fascinating and amazing. And anyways, just some books so you guys can arm yourself with knowledge and kind of understand how we're able to challenge these things in the legal system, and how I think a lot of this comes into play with how Trump's team, his legal team, is mapping out how they're going to go after and take this to court in the different areas.
With some good Christmas gifts, Costco, right here.
Yeah.
Two amazing books. Look how pretty these are too. Awesome. You guys can go pick these up.
Anyway,
The Art of
sorry,
War.
that was a little bit, but I know some people are like, how do they legally? I know my daughter was being attacked again. Apparently, a lawyer now decided to go on and attack our 14-year-old daughter because of some things that she was posting. And I thought, oh, really? You must feel so manly to go talk to a 14-year-old daughter, and you're a lawyer, right?
Crazy.
But I was really proud of her responses, because we have been, as a family, trying to learn and understand the Constitution. And yes, there is legal authority to make these challenges legally in these different instances. Because a lot of times you hear on the media, they're like, oh, they have no legal precedence, they have no legal right to be challenging this. So everything, thankfully, I'm going to say I'm thankful for the 12th Amendment.
Yep.
It's awesome. But this is right here. This is what our country was founded on. And this is what is going to, I feel like, win us this election. So if the votes are counted fairly and he is ahead.
So check this out, you guys. So we're on the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania site, and we posted this link today. You go onto the site, Now that you're here, what you're going to do is you're going to click on date of birth, and you're just going to click these little 3 buttons, and you're going to click sort ascending. Now, again, notice the date, birth dates. Now, the one, January 1st, 1800, is to protect domestic violence victims. So nothing wrong with that at all. But let's keep scrolling down here. And then as you go to the next page, take a look at this, you guys. Look at the date of the voters. These are people that voted. Here's their application date, October 27th of 2020. Here's their ballot was mailed in, right? Here's the district that they voted in. And take a look at their birth dates. Isn't that something? Isn't that crazy? We've got to get this information out, you guys, because, you know, the media would have you believe, the media wants you to believe that, oh, all these fraud allegations, they've got no proof. And I'm going to give you, in just a minute, I'm going to give you guys as much ammunition as you need. I'm going to give you exactly where we're at with this case. You know, a lot of people are saying, where's the fraud? Where's the fraud? I'm going to tell you exactly what's happening, and I'm going to make sure that you have the information that you guys need to be armed to be able to go out and have these conversations with people. It's important that we get this information out there. Click the share button. We really appreciate it if you share this and get this out, so that, because these are things that the media is not showing right now. Anytime that there's an allegation of fraud, the media comes back and says, oh, you know what, they fact check it, say, there's no basis to that. I've literally posted videos of people that are in the act committing fraud, and they say, oh, that's just misinformation, right? So this is what big tech and the media are doing. They want to show Joe Biden already assuming the position, and they are assuming that you are going to back down. They're assuming that you're going to throw in the towel. They're assuming that we are going to give up and say, well, there's really nothing to these, you know, these fraud allegations are baseless, and that is not the case. And once again, just shared with you on the state of Pennsylvania, one example of what is happening. So let's get into it a little bit more. Where are we with the fraud updates? First of all, there was a recent poll, and you know me, I'm such a big believer in polls because I think that this is a little bit low, since we know that the polls were proven to be so accurate in this race, right? 70% of Republicans think that this election was not fair or honest. Now, I think that that percentage is actually very low. We're asking that question to everybody that joins the group, Patriot Updates, and it's interesting some of the responses that we've gotten from you. I think that we've only had maybe 1 or 2 people that are undecided at this point that it was an unfair or unhonest election. So 70% of Republicans think that this election was not fair or honest in our group, and with razor thin margins in multiple states, we, as Republicans, as conservatives, have the right to investigate every report of fraud, abuse, and have a duty to count every single vote. Do not listen to the media. They're making or portraying that we don't have a right to investigate fraud allegations. You know, they're acting like this is something that's out of the normal, that we are requesting recounts in certain states where there are allegations, where the votes are so, the races are so razor thin. So you have to understand that that is their agenda. That is their strategy. And it is our job to fight back. After years of being lied to by the media, after being censored by big tech, being slandered, right? All of you guys, you know what you are? You're deplorables. That's what you are. You're deplorables. In fact, aren't we chumps? Isn't that one of the most recent things that we heard? That the Trump supporters are trumps by President-elect Biden? After years of this.
Why are you calling him that? That's not true.
President-elect.
Yeah, but he's not.
He's not even that yet, because he hasn't even labeled that
I know,
yet.
that's rude. But
We aren't going to take the media's word for anything, is my point. We are not going to take the word. Sorry, we're just not. So those who are angry that the Republicans won't just accept the results of this election, give me a break. You spent 4 years crying, Russia, 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 right? And then after that didn't work for you, then the Mueller investigation for 22 months, you know, and then, you know, all these alleged crimes committed by the president. You know, you supported Democrats to support overturning Democratic races in Georgia when you said that that election wasn't fair. And all the Democrats rallied around and claimed, and it's still to this day said that it wasn't fair to a race back in 2018 for a Senate seat. Then you had the whistleblower complaint and the allegations of all of these things that happened on a phone call. And the only problem is the president released a transcript that showed that it was all wrong. You have CNN currently right now that is shaming Republicans who haven't congratulated Joe Biden. They actually put up a list yesterday on CNN of all of the Republicans, senators, that have not yet congratulated Joe Biden. They want to make sure they're not mask shaming, right? They're shaming these people for not congratulating Joe Biden.
Yeah, but the media does not have any right to call the election. That's not their right and jurisdiction. And I feel like I feel like we're living in a time of aristocracy. And if you want to know what that looks like, it looks like right now we're having a very few people, corporate, right? The people who control the media, which leads to what, a few families that control the media, that and they all have the same ideals, and they're literally censoring and controlling what we hear, what we see, and what we're allowed to talk about. And now they're trying to shame, because I mean, did you see the eye roll video of that girl on that didn't know that she was being recorded, and she was like looking down like this, and then she's like, "What? But we called it." And it's like,
oh, the
what?
reporter, yes.
Yeah, it's like, what do you mean you called it? Who are you people? I mean, literally the power and ego of the media to think that they have the right and audacity to be in charge and legally call the election. And now whoever does not, congratulate Joe Biden based on their call, the media's call, their projections, not based in fact at this time. That's crazy to me.
Well, it's interesting because anytime, and we're talking about how the media is responding to the alleged fraud and how they're just, Patricia used a great word, gaslighting people to the umpteenth degree. She says, they're just, there's no fraud. That's not true. That's not true. So, Kayleigh McEnany the other day was doing a press conference, and Neil Cavuto, here's another Fox News. By the way, Fox News, just so everybody knows, has now hired an emergency publicist, because they are in a crisis because of the amount of people that are unfollowing Fox News. So keep it up. Keep the Fox
up. Go unfollow right now. I didn't realize I was still following them yesterday. So I went and specifically unfollowed them on Facebook and Instagram and any of their news syndicates, Fox anything. Go do that.
So Neil Cavuto, the minute that Kayleigh started talking about the alleged fraud, and by the way, this was a press release where she was going to talk about all of the evidence and talk about all of the allegations that they had about the alleged, voter fraud that is going on in all of these different states. Neil Cavuto immediately cut away from her and said, "Oh, well, we can't, she's making some serious allegations, until there's some evidence of this, I just can't in good faith let the public and let you hear this." What do you think that she was saying? What do you think that she was demonstrating? That this is the strategy of the media, is to keep you from the truth completely. It's the same thing they did with the Hunter Biden story, right? They just fail to report on it, and then they attack anybody's character that chooses to speak out. So let's talk about what we do have at this point. So poll workers were looking at how this is some of the reports or the allegations. These are some of the things that many people are coming forward with. Poll workers were looking at how a person voted by peeking inside absentee ballot secrecy sleeves before classifying them as problem ballots. So think about this. So I'm a poll worker, and I am looking at these ballots, and I'm peeking into the sleeves, and then to see it, let's say that I see a President Trump, somebody voted for President Trump, I can now say, oh, this is a problem ballot, and set it aside. So we've got people that are claiming this. And by the way, these are not just speculation. These are sworn affidavits. Michigan and Pennsylvania allowing people to vote who didn't show up as registered voters. So if you showed up and you weren't registered, that's okay. Come on in, honey. Why don't you go ahead? You can go ahead and place your vote anyways. You're voting for Biden, right? Yeah. Go, you can place your vote right here. So that's another thing that's happening. Election workers at a Detroit satellite voting center repeatedly coaching voters, just like that. Literally coaching voters, telling them to vote for Biden and other Democrats as well. Again, these are sworn affidavits. 4 other individuals in Wayne County came forward citing irregularities and other major issues that were taking place in the process. Software glitch, 6,000 people. The same software that's used in 47 other Michigan counties is also used in 28 other states. And we have this software glitch that's happening. And, places like Arizona, the Secretary of State, are refusing to even allow people to come in and analyze the software voting system, knowing that there are not just alleged glitches. These are glitches that are out there. We have sworn affidavits of poll workers rejecting ballots that were Trump, that saw people also walk in with multiple ballots that they were putting into the ballot box. We have sworn affidavits of people that made a human wall to block visibility while people were marking ballots in Michigan. Hello? So literally, they put a human wall up, the people that worked at the polling center, to block the person behind them that was marking ballots. These are sworn affidavits. In Wisconsin, in Georgia, in Pennsylvania, there is now a total of 500 sworn affidavits total. These are people that have testified. And again, these are people that know the repercussions of making these type of allegations if they're false, right? These are people that could go to prison. I can understand if maybe they found 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 people to come forward with these allegations. 500 sworn affidavits. Many centered around mail-in voting, of course, right? So a lot of what's coming forward right now is centered around mail-in voting and accurate voter rolls, lack of IDs, so people showing up without IDs, still being able to vote, ballot harvesting. These are all the things that are coming forward. You guys, we have to take this seriously. If we don't put an end to this now, I want you to understand what is at stake. Republicans will not ever win an election again, because the steps that the Democrats are taking right now, the shaming that is going on right now to make Republicans feel like we're losers for even questioning the fact that there are allegations of fraud, is if this continues, they are setting themselves up to be in a position where Republicans won't ever win again, because Democrats don't play fair. Republicans believe, again, if we rise up for what we believe in, if we debate, if we evoke the American spirit, we can win this race. Democrats, they fight dirty at the polls. They focus on the system.
By the way, I'm not saying people, like the people who are Democrats.
I'm talking to all my Democratic friends.
Yes, we're talking, just so that's clear. We're not talking about.
Yeah, we're talking about the Democratic Party.
Yes, the systemic part, the people that are in power in the Democratic Party.
This is about election integrity. It's about following the rule of law. It's about holding the media accountable. And that is the reason why we launch Patriot Updates. It's the reason why we appreciate you getting this information out there. Click the share button, type shared into the comment section so that we know that you shared this, so that we can thank you. It's so important that we get this information out there so other Republicans know that they're not alone, because the media right now doing everything that they can to make you feel like this race is over.
And you're the only one that thinks that there should be any votes that are validated and audited. 5
years of lies, fake polls, fake news, fake Russia conspiracies. Excuse us if we want to investigate the thousands of reports of voter fraud.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if I mentioned this last time, but the Washington Post, I actually just screenshotted this. I didn't have time to look it up, but the Washington Post had an article at some point. I can't see the date. And it says, democracy dies in darkness. Mail-in ballots were part of a plot to deny Abraham Lincoln re-election in 1864. So I'm really interested. I'm going to look into that right here, because that would be interesting if literally the Democratic Party took a page out of history and and figured out how to redo this. I don't know.
It's what they've been.
I'm going to look into it.
The Republicans have been focusing on policy. They've been focusing on ideals and values and what we stand for, anti-abortion and all of these things. And the Democrats for the last year, in the state of Georgia, for example, lawmakers, at the last minute changed a law that used to state that when you had to go in and you had to show an ID, your signature had to match the signature that they had on file from you. And that e-signature on file had been validated. Now they changed the law at the last minute so that your signature only had to match the application of the ballot. So think about that for a moment. So if I'm a fraudster and all I have to do is fill out an application and I sign it, when I show up at the bowling center, all I have to do is make sure that my signature matches the application. It's little things like that people don't think that much of when they're happening, but they make all the difference when it comes time for the actual election. People are saying, show us the fraud, show us all this evidence, and then the media won't report on it. Well, first of all, we need to talk a little bit about what comes first. Let's start backwards here for a moment. Right now, all counties in Wisconsin are doing a canvass. Okay, so let's talk about what is a canvass. They check the machines, they check the accounts, Everything is reviewed. That won't be done until the 17th of November. Then they can file a petition for a recount. Okay? So we can't even, until the canvass is complete, they can't even file the petition for the recount. Now, the recount date is set after that date. So let's say that it's possibly the 18th. Now we start the recount. At that point, that is when the affidavits, right, all these people that came forward are actually presented to the canvassers. So that is when the information is presented to the canvassers. And then, and only then, based on what the canvassers decide, they can appeal to the courts if they don't agree with what the canvassers decide. So let me break this down for you for a moment. So let's say that you have 1,000 ballots that were fraud. Okay, you bring that to the court. They could rule in your favor. They could say you are right, and they could say remove X amount of ballots from this particular precinct. All those adjustments are made, and then the recount proceeds with both parties in the room. Then they actually proceed. So, and by the way, any member of the public can be present during the counting. This, we know, did not happen during this election. You can't have integrity in this process when you only have one party that's in the room. You can't have integrity in that situation. Most states have total access to the entire process. It's by law. So fraud must meet a certain threshold before it proceeds eventually to the Supreme Court. So, guys, just 1% of mail-in ballots, if 1% of mail-in ballots were rejected, think about this. If 1% of mail-in ballots were rejected because somebody was peeking into a sleeve, that could easily tip the scales in all of the swing states. So do you understand what is at stake here? You guys picking up what I'm putting down? So where's the evidence? I'm going to give you the evidence, okay? You want to, let's touch on that for just a moment. Yeah. So I'm going to give you the evidence. 234 pages of sworn affidavits. 234 pages of sworn affidavits. These are real people with real allegations with signed notaries. Is the media talking about that? Has the media talked about that at all? No. What they're doing is just discrediting anybody and everybody that came forward. Oh, you know, that's ended up not being true.
It's the cancel culture.
It's the cancel culture. It's exactly right.
You're going to cancel my video of me talking about my voting experience and me using a Sharpie. Or you're going to cancel a story about me talking about how I witnessed voter fraud. I'm saying me as in like a person who was actually there testifying on video, talking about what they saw or what they experienced. They literally are denying that person's existence, experience. That's crazy.
Amen. Hey, thanks so much for tuning into Patriot Updates, you guys. We are talking about the evidence right now. A lot of people in the media are saying, where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? But then when it's presented, they immediately try to cancel it. So we're talking about 234 sworn affidavits. You also have, in one particular county, in Wayne County alone, one particular batch of ballots, 60% of those ballots in Wayne County had the exact same signature. So these are things that are on the affidavits. Okay, this is just in Wayne County alone, you guys. 35 ballots had no voter record whatsoever. So the ballots went in, even though there was no voter record at all. You have this, a lady came forward and said that her son voted. Her son is deceased and he voted. You have same ballots that were run through the counting machines 50 times. You have poll watchers that actually watched this with their own eyes, signed affidavits, turned these affidavits in. You have poll watchers who were threatened with racial harassment and even kicked out when they challenged ballots that didn't look right. They were actually physically removed from the polling centers. Democrats were handling, listen to this. These are all on sworn affidavits that have been turned in. So you're asking, where's the evidence? Here's the evidence. Democrats were handing out documents, literally at polling centers, on how to distract and block GOP vote challengers. They were handing out documents to distract the challengers, on how to distract them. Anybody, I don't care whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, anyone who cares about an election would want this to proceed to the discovery stages. The media should want this to proceed to the discovery changes so that we can do what? At least validate or invalidate whether this is real. Because if it's real, then it undermines the entire election process. I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. You should care, because if our elections are undermined to the point where nobody believes in them anymore, then what it also does is it also undermines the person that's in a position, and eventually gets to the point where he will no longer, or she will no longer, be recognized by the people as their leader, because the election process is considered corrupt. That is what is at stake here. The very fabric and foundation of America is at stake, and the media wants to just push these things to the side. Oh, you Trump whiners. You Trump whiners. How dare you? You're getting ahead of myself here. I got stuff here, and you're pulling up some of those to get on my notes.
I feel like I'm moving it along, and you've already talked about that.
Anybody who cares about this election. So here's the thing. To the people that say they are making this up, to all of the media, to everybody that is out there, what's up, Mr. Wisely? Hope your dad's doing well. To anybody that is out there, are you really going to get 240 people to risk perjury? Right? This election was rigged from the very beginning, from the laws that were created. Why kick out poll watchers? Why would you kick them out unless you have something to hide? The media won't even listen to these stories. Guys, listen to this. There are over 11,000 incident reports of alleged voter fraud in 4 swing states. 11,000 incidents. And when you validate a vote, when you validate a vote that shouldn't be in, you are stealing from an honest voter. Right? That's what we're doing. When you validate, when somebody comes in and puts a vote through, or when that person runs that through 50 times, you canceled 50 people's, you stole 50 votes from honest voters. The media refusing to report on this is stealing our faith in the process, and people deserve to have faith in this entire process. So, I want you to understand that these affidavits, these people are vetted. We take their statements, and then from there, the attorneys take their statements, and then the affidavits, they have to go and get them, what do you call it, where the people say notarized, so that they're legitimate people, right? And here's what you have to understand. This entire process takes time, and we're not even done canvassing yet. We're not even done canvassing yet. Data teams haven't even been able to analyze the software yet in some of these places. Of course, Arizona, our Secretary of State, says it's not necessary. So even the evidence that we do put forward, and when we do put forward, they won't report it, or they break away from a press conference. So when the media says there's no proof out there, there is. It's just the cancel culture. In Pennsylvania, they've got no signature verification whatsoever. In Georgia, they changed the laws. As long as the signature matches the application and not what's on file historically, you're good. Guys, these are key methods at disrupting an entire election. We have multiple eyewitnesses of the people that go to the book. You go to we showed you earlier in today's episode, for those of you that are just joining, we actually pulled up that literally show you people that voted, that were born in the early 1900s. State legislators set up rules for their state per the Constitution. The law says poll watchers can overwatch the votes. And if you have nothing to hide, again, why are you kicking people out? In Detroit, it was only mail-in ballots, some coming in the middle of the night, right? So, all of a sudden the mail-in ballots are what show up in the middle of the night when everybody had been sent home and when they stopped counting. What we have right now in this country is 72 million angry people. 72 million angry people. And President Trump wants justice. There are 687,000 ballots with 0 poll watchers. The Constitution is crystal clear about the law. It's crystal clear about the law. The Constitution matters. Do you guys think the Constitution matters? For 4 years, we had the Democrats questioning the last election with a phony Russia conspiracy that ultimately came from Hillary Clinton, President Obama, and your Mr. Biden. Jim Jordan back in August plays this video. And this video, he talks about everything that was going on and everything that was going to happen coming up in the 2020 election. It's called That's What They Want. And I'm telling you guys, he was spot on. He knew exactly what was going to happen. They wanted to have disruption at the polls. They wanted to have disruption at the election. And everything that they've been working on this last year has led to where we are right now. You know, we talked about the Georgia changing laws. Think about this. If you said we will keep the Senate, we would win more than 10 seats in the House. President Trump would have 9 million more voters than he did in 2016, and we're going to lose? Come on. That's why Republicans instinctively know that something is not right.
So basically, they're saying that whoever voted for Joe Biden just voted for Joe Biden and didn't vote for any other people on the ticket for the Democratic Party. Otherwise, the Democrats would have been able to take the Senate and not give up those seats to the Republicans. So who takes the time to go to the voter poll and go vote, right? And only mark the president and no other candidates for their state, local. I mean, let's face it, look at how important local law is. We see these states that have been run and cities that have been run by Democratic rule for 30 years, 20 years. And their cities are the cesspools, pardon me, that have had they let their cities burn with the riots. They didn't stop anything. They just let them burn, and their cities have been destroyed over the years and have disintegrated into places that no one wants to go. I mean, I was just talking to someone today who lives outside of New York, and he was just saying how he just bought a house outside Chicago, and he's going to renovate it and all this stuff, because he says he doesn't think he has hopes eventually New York City will come back to what it once was. Because let's face it, New York City is amazing, right? But what's happened to it has just been so sad. It's just lost. I mean, I know a lot of people actually who are exiting the city, and they're not coming back for the winter and hoping that it could get better in the spring. But that's just one example. New York didn't burn, I'll say that, but I'm just saying the other ones, it's local law is so important and state law is so important. So you're telling me people are going to go to the voting polls and just vote for the president and not care about voting for who runs their Senate, who has their House, those are very, very important, as we've seen how important those votes are, just as important, if not even more important than the president, honestly.
It's it's crazy to me that what you hear now is a call for unity. You hear this call for unity, and yet I don't see unity or a party that wants unity when all we see in the media is shaming those that want to investigate the over 11,000 eyewitness accounts, hundreds of affidavits that have been submitted of alleged voter fraud. And they're calling for unity, right? These are the same people that a month ago were attacking Amy Barrett because she adopted a child that had a different color of skin. And now all of a sudden they want unity. Let's talk a little bit about just unity for just a moment. So how many of you guys have seen the Accountability Project? So there's a website out there, and we've talked a little bit about this, called the Trump Accountability Project. And the Trump Accountability Project is supported by AOC, who's one of the major supporters of this. And if you haven't seen this yet, this is going to absolutely blow your mind. We're talking about stuff we're talking about Nazi Germany stuff. So on this particular site, hang on a second here, let me get this pulled up so you guys can see what we're referring to here. Don't know why I can't. Oh, here it is. All right, so the Trump Accountability Project, supported by none other than AOC. Right at the top here, it says, remember what they said. Remember what they did, excuse me. Who do you think they is? Who do you think they is?
I love this picture right here. This is so funny.
It's you. They is Trump supporters. Those that furthered Trump's agenda. What they want, and I know what you're going to say about this cage, but we'll get to that in a second. What they want is to never forget those who furthered the Trump agenda. What they want is a database of Trump supporters so that if you go apply for a job and it comes up that you were a Trump supporter, you will be canceled.
Are you showing? Okay, good. You're showing.
Yeah, I'm showing this. This is unity. This is unity. This is what they're calling for, is unity, right? Does this look like unity to you guys? This is scary stuff. We should not allow the following groups of people to profit from their experience. This is scary stuff. This is, listen, could you imagine if after we win the election, when Trump is sworn in for the second time, and that will happen, can you imagine if we then said, hey, we're going to start a website of all these Joe Biden supporters, and you know what? Let's remember what they did. Let's remember. How do you think that would go over in the media? Guys, this is crazy stuff coming out of the left-wing party.
Those who use their massive personal wealth, assuming that all people who are Republican had massive wealth, when
more money,
there's so many people who grassroots efforts just donated $50, $100, $20, $10. It's just laughable.
It's crazy stuff. So listen, we're going to wrap up here for the evening, but I know you had a couple of things you wanted to share.
First of all, I wanted you to do that with what you just did, but go on our Patriot page and pull up the numbers for people in Arizona, so they don't necessarily have to go and look, and just leave it on the screen for a second if you can.
Okay, go ahead.
So that I'm going to have Travis pull up, because I want to just remind everyone, if you live in Arizona, or if you know people who live in Arizona, please screenshot this or go on Patriot updates and scroll down. We've had several updates posts put on there since I posted this, but there is the numbers to the people that you need to call in the state to let them know that we want our votes counted. We want to have the system tested that was used to count the votes here in Arizona, because we want to feel confident to know that our votes are being counted legit, and there was no glitch where people who voted for Trump were now being counted for Biden. We want to know. It's just underneath here.
There.
So
it depends on where people comment.
Oh no. Oh.
The activity that it gets, they'll pull it to the top, and then.
Oh, okay. Then this one right here. Pull this one up right here.
Okay, go for this real quick.
Oh, is that one? Or is it showing that one? Okay. So I would say, when it asks you to sort on this, sort for the newest, not the ones that has the most comments. I like seeing what's new. Otherwise, something just keeps getting more and more comments because it's just up there at the top. Sort and go to new, so you see all the latest things that are being posted, because we go through different news cycles, and there might be more things coming up at one time, and then you'll miss it. So make sure you push the sort button and see the newest, not the ones that has the most recent comment. This was sent to me, and I think this was sent to me by my mom. And anyways, it says 71 million Trump voters. It's time to fight back. It's time to mobilize. And it says step 1, move to Parler and exit Facebook and Twitter, which of course, I don't know that we're going to completely move, but it is smart. I feel like everybody should go and get a Parler account. I think that there's definitely been some growth. I've had a Parler account for quite a while, and I've noticed that it's been a little slow, so be patient. I think they're just experiencing some growing pains.
2 million people on Sunday.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then step 2, turn off the TV. Do not tune into CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC.
Fox.
Go to the new ones, which I'm going to have you post here. I just sent it to Travis. I'm going to post this too. The new Twitter is Parler. The new Facebook is MeWe or Gab. I haven't been on MeWe or Gab yet, so I haven't checked that out. The new YouTube is Rumble. The new Google search is DuckDuckGo. The new browser for secure Chrome is Brave browser. I haven't tried that one. Secure messaging is Telegram or Signal. And the new news, instead of watching Fox News, go to Newsmax or OAN. So those are some places that you can, take your business and you put your money where your mouth is. And then the last one is, what did you want to say?
The people are struggling with the last one, number 3, just so you know.
I know.
Look at Jamie Stagg. So our friend Jamie Stagg says, I've done all 3 already, but you need to call my wife and convince her of number 3. Good luck.
Yeah.
Roxana Paisley. check pending.
That was great. Okay, look, I'm
I
not
love
telling you how to do this, but let's be honest. You know, if Fox News, because of just unfollowing, they're calling in an emergency person to like try to figure this out, then that matters. You know, all those little things matter. So I have auto ships on Amazon. Mine just dropped today, so that I'm like, okay, good. Maybe I can.
You mean
wait
to
a
tell me
month.
that all those little boxes that are going to show up are going to stop for the next few weeks? Really?
See, I know. The
I'm
guys are
excited
gonna be
about
on
that. Guys, we got to really get behind this. This is good stuff right here.
Jarvis
There
is
it is.
behind number 3. But I know, especially with the holiday season coming up, I know that that's a stretch. But if you can even just do something different, a little bit different, and like maybe you know, say, okay, I'm gonna order from, you know, a different place. But small businesses do matter, and I do think that is important. So if you can, when you can, really try to support small business over other main businesses. Amazon is a little bit of my retail crush, so that is kind of hard.
Well, listen,
but
71 million people can make a
That's a lot.
significant difference. I mean, think about it. Fox News just hired a crisis manager because they've lost
Yes.
millions of followers in a matter of a few days after the election. And the fact that you have people like Neil Cavuto that are cutting off our press secretary in the middle of an announcement, going through all the items that we've gone through tonight, listing all of the different allegations of fraud, and them cutting her off and then turning around and saying, wow, there's no evidence of fraud anywhere. So, but here's the other thing that Summer wanted to talk about. We mentioned earlier on in the show, for those of you that are just joining us, the Secretary of State Hobbs here in Arizona came in and said that refused GOP lawmakers and senators' requests to investigate our voter systems just to validate that there are no glitches in the system. And she said no. So we are calling on all of our Arizona Patriots
Yes.
and non-Arizona Patriots. You can do this even if you're outside of Arizona. What would you like them to do?
Call Governor Ducey, call Bronovich, and the civil rights number right there, Hobbs, for sure, Hobbs, the 800 number, and the Senate. And just call them. I did this right before the election for some reason. I can't remember what it was. I did it twice. Oh, I know. I actually did it for the defund the police thing too that was going around during coronavirus. I literally just was a voice message, and I just left my name. I said, hey, my name is Summer Flaherty, and I live in Arizona. I live in Gilbert. This is my email, because I think it did say you have to leave your email and your phone number or something like that. And I just want it to be known that this is what I support. I do not want you to defund the police. And please listen to your voters. And that's literally all you have to say, something like that. So this one, you would just be like, hey, I want to demand, I am an Arizona resident. I want to make sure my vote counts. Voting counts. This election counts. I want to make sure that my vote and the voting machines that were used to count my vote are tested, so that I have confidence in the system and in Arizona and in you, and in, put it back on them. And I have confidence in you that you are going to do the best thing for our state, for our country, for our election process, and you are going to make the right choice. So definitely those are super important if you can do that. I know it's hard. People like to text, but literally, I promise you it won't take more than 1 or 2 minutes per call, and it will make a big difference.
Well, and if you're in any of these swing states, so here's a couple of things that you can do. Number one, I want to just say this: complacency is the enemy of progress.
Yes.
And right now, the media is counting on you being complacent. The media is counting on you starting to feel like, oh, this is old news, getting tired of the story. The media is going to bring the cancel culture at a level that you've never seen before. They're going to shame anyone that wants to just even gain some type of finality to the over 11,000 cases of alleged fraud that have taken place that have now come forward. They're going to shame anyone that wants to have any type of resolve in that case. So complacency is the enemy of progress. That's number one. Number two, what can you do? Share this group. Invite people to this group that are like-minded, that are patriots like yourself. I would challenge you to invite 10 friends tonight. If you can do that, that'll help us to get the message out and to continue to push information out to these patriots, and do our best to arm you or equip you with what's really happening out there in the media and in the world today. So that's number two, is to share the group. Number three is share these updates. Share these updates onto your personal page, and then tag fellow patriots. Invite them to watch so that they can get the latest information. we have a team of people, believe it or not, that are scouring what's going on out there, looking through all of these different sources, communicating with congressmen like Congressman Andy Biggs, communicating with Bill Stepien, Trump's campaign manager, or Trump's campaign attorneys. So we actually have a team of people in different groups that are scouring this information so that we can get this information out to you on a regular basis. So we're going to continue to do that. What we want is your support in knowing that you are going to keep the fight going. That is the most important thing. We're just getting started. A lot of people are wondering why there isn't quick enough progress, why we're not seeing, progress in the courts yet, or why, we haven't progressed to the Supreme Court. It takes time. Remember, we are in many states just canvassing right now. We're literally just going through and investigating machines and analyzing the equipment. From there, we then present all of these allocations to the canvassers. From there, they make decisions. Then from there, we can decide if we want to go to court. That process takes time. So understand that there's a lot going on behind the scenes right now, and a lot more information to come. We're going to be getting into, these stories about Dominion and Hammer, and I keep wanting scorecard, and how some of these things have allegedly flipped votes. And so we're going to be diving into these stories a little bit more in some of the future Patriot updates. So we encourage you guys to stay plugged in, share the information, invite your friends to come and join us.
Also, stay educated, stay calm, and keep your head about you. Be a good example. My dad always says, "Don't get mad, get even." Right? And I know that sounds really like kind of mean, but really, honestly, we have the law on our side, and so stay educated. You don't have to get these books, but these books were at Costco, $14.99. They're beautiful. They make great gifts. They are really, I mean, it's heavy reading. Books. It's legal. The legal heavy reading is the Constitution, but it's really fascinating. There's other writings in this one as well. The Art of War is awesome. If you read that book, I'm not even like remotely through it because that does require brain power when you read that one. And you know what? It gives me so much hope because it really talks about the art of taking your enemy by surprise, the art of planning, and just the planning process and taking them by surprise. And when they think that you're this way, you're over here. It's really, really fascinating, and it gives me hope when knowing that President Trump loves that book so much. And then also, just curious, last thing. Also, this book right here. This is a really good book.
The Making of America.
The Making of America. And someone mentioned on the feed here, I think it was Jason Barton, maybe. I don't know. Naked Communist by Cleon Skousen. I actually just ordered that book. I have many Cleon Skousen books. Cleon Skousen, Cleon Skousen, Skousen,
Skausen.
And also, Cleansing of America is actually a really amazing book because of the back part of it. It actually tells you how the founding fathers came up with the Constitution and how each of the founding fathers of the Constitution, their individual backgrounds, how their knowledge and individual experiences contributed so greatly to the creation of the Constitution. And it talks about the different societies that they took from. It's super fascinating. It's really great. And it helps you, I feel like, before you even read the Constitution, understand that these principles came from someplace. They didn't just make it up. They were truly inspired by who they each individually were collectively coming together and putting this amazing document. So I feel like this, that's a really, really good one to do. And then just by a show of like thumbs up or hearts, I don't know what you want to put, maybe just a thumbs up. Is anybody interested? I'm not a super huge fan of like going supporting one way or the other on certain things about coronavirus. I know that can be a very sensitive topic to some people. And even if they agree on some things, they don't agree on that. But I feel like while we've been distracted with this election, there have been several things going on with the election or with the coronavirus. And I know that we were just told that Europe was shut down. You can't even get a flight to Europe right now. I thought you just had to do a 14-day quarantine, but apparently not. That's not even in right now. And there's just some other things going around. So by a show of thumbs up, would any of you want us to talk about just the different things that have happened? I know Utah has a new mandate for 2 weeks. If not, no big deal. But thumbs up if you want us to talk about some of the things that have been trying to be passed while we've been distracted with the, oh my gosh, the election.
It's got to be very careful about our freedoms being taken away
Yes.
under the guise of protection.
Yes.
Listen, thanks so much for tuning in today. Let's go out there and make America great again. And appreciate you guys sharing this. If you shared today's episode, type shared into the comment section so that we can thank you. Once again, we challenge you to invite your like-minded friends to come and join us here in Patriot Updates. Share today's episode. Let's get the information out there. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and we will see you guys again soon. We'll be going live here either tomorrow or Friday with some more information. So take care, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye now.